So what is Easter? Easter is a 2,000-year-old Christian religious festival. It is the annual celebration of the day that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, about 30 AD. The dates for Easter range from March 22nd to April 25th. The day itself is the first Sunday after the first full moon after the first day of spring. That's especially calculated that way in Western Christianity. Accounts of the Easter Day events are provided by some of the eyewitnesses, such as Matthew and John. The writers Mark and Luke also recorded eyewitness accounts in the historical documents. All of these have been preserved in the collection of writings known as the Christian Bible. The witnesses emphasize the key elements of this resurrection account. First of all, Jesus had plainly predicted both his death and that on the third day he would rise to life again. The followers of Jesus simply did not grasp this. It is possible that the understanding was withheld from them by Jesus himself. This would allow them to see that his resurrection was predicted by Old Testament writers and encourage them to trust the ancient promises recorded on the Jewish scrolls, which Christians call the Old Testament. Of the apostles, only John was present when Jesus died. Interestingly, Christians call that day Good Friday. Jesus' first words from the cross point to its importance and its goodness. Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. The first people to see Jesus alive were the women who had followed and supported his ministry. They had been with him when he died on the cross. When the women reported that they had seen Jesus alive, the apostles regarded their words as nonsense. Jesus appeared alive to his disciples again and again during the next 40 days. He wanted to reassure them that he had kept his promises. He helped them see that he was the same Jesus as before, still fully human and fully divine. First, Jesus appeared to a group of women, then to Mary Magdalene. He appeared to Peter, to 2 disciples on the road to Emmaus, to 10 of the apostles, and then to those same apostles along with Thomas. St. Paul provided a list of those who had seen Jesus alive. Over 500 people were on his list. He was seen by Jesus' brother James as well. Later on, the Apostle Paul also saw Jesus alive. Paul invites his readers to talk to the eyewitnesses themselves, because most of them were still alive. As Jesus returned to heaven, Jesus told his disciples that they would be his witnesses, witnesses of his life, death, and resurrection, witnesses to the whole world. So if Easter is not just a bad cover-up for a dead Jesus, and if it's not just a myth, what are the implications of Easter for Christians? Jesus' followers wrote a number of books in the decades after his resurrection. Almost all of them show the impact of Jesus' resurrection. In one of those books called 1 Corinthians, in its 15th chapter, a chapter often called the resurrection chapter, the Apostle Paul discusses the implications of Easter. After discussing the eyewitness evidence, he asks the most important what-if question. What if Christ was not raised? If Christ had not been raised, the Christian faith is futile because it does not give the forgiveness of sins. If the Christian faith has no value beyond this life, we are to be pitied more than all people. In other words, the earliest Christians made it clear that the whole of Christianity either stands or falls by this one test: did Jesus Christ rise from the dead? In his writing and in his preaching, St. Paul emphasizes the centrality of this resurrection teaching. Jesus' resurrection demonstrates that he's truly God. Who else could raise himself from the dead? All sin has made Jesus' responsibility. He is guilty and must pay God's penalty. When the Father raises him from the dead, he demonstrates that the payment was sufficient, and it worked. With all sin removed, God declares the whole world to be not guilty, and we have peace with God. The resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead tells us that. Christians believe that they are connected to this risen Jesus and his resurrection power. They seek that power to live a completely new kind of life, a life of love for and service to the world that God so loved. Jesus' resurrection guarantees that all people will rise from the dead one day. This life after death provides sustaining hope and comforting peace for people who live in a world without hope or peace. Christians experience a great deal of joy and hope, especially on Easter Day. They think about the transformation the first followers experienced. They went from sorrow and fear to joy and boldness. Christians will likely invite others to this festival. It is helpful to observe one of these Easter celebrations. It is not necessary to participate in any of the rituals to observe them. Christian churches have staff that can answer additional questions. Many of them enjoy explaining the Christian faith concepts without any conditions or requirements for membership. For more information, please contact Christ Lutheran Church on Main Street in Eden Prairie, Minnesota.